Welcome back. My name is Greg Tomchick, CEO here at Valor Cybersecurity, and I'm extremely excited about this session. A lot of conversation over the past 2-3 years on AI and the potential it has to save us a lot of time and money from the business perspective, as well as the technical perspective. And there's a conversation that not many people are having that we typically have behind closed doors with the clients that we serve in the defense industrial base, specifically defense manufacturers and shipbuilders. That's the area that we focus on here at Valor. And a lot of them are curious, how can we use AI and how can we not? What takes us in and out of compliance, because they're all pursuing CMMC under the Department of Defense. As we know, it takes the government a while to catch up with compliance when technology is evolving. And what they're trying to do with AI, not necessarily just inside the government, but throughout the supply chain of the defense industrial base, is to make sure that these supply chain companies that are delivering to the Department of Defense, that they know what's right when it comes to using AI and what's not. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So extremely excited about that. Just 2 days ago, President Trump signed an executive order that builds upon the NDAA budget, almost $1 trillion passed in December of last year, 2025. And in that budget and policy bill, there was some mentions of AI, and buried in a section, if you want to read through that document, and we have as a team, section 1513, basically says that the Pentagon must build a new set of rules, a new set of requirements when it comes to using AI tools, both in the government and the organizations that serve into the government, so those defense contractors. And they're directly tied to a certification process. So inside the government, maybe some type of authorization or an ATO. Outside the government, it's CMMC or an ATO package that you're submitting if you have a technology solution. What a lot of people get confused on is they say, we're not actually delivering an AI tool to the government. And when it comes to CMMC, if you've been through that process, what they're basically saying in this bill signed 2 days ago in this executive order is that AI tools are now a part of your CMMC scope, whereas in the past it was kind of like you could use them as a shadow IT tool, get the benefits, but not have to claim it's a part of your scope. But we know, and we've seen a lot of companies are putting both federal contract information, or FCI, and also controlled unclassified information, CUI, which CMMC was built around. So you don't have to be an AI company to have AI requirements. And I want to walk through kind of what those requirements are going to look like so you can get out ahead of it. But basically, there's a huge signal that these requirements are being drafted and going to be rapidly put into NIST 171, maybe revision 3, or they come out with a revision 3.5 or revision 4 with these AI requirements, because they know defense contractors are using them both to develop tools that go onto government networks, but also the manufacturing of the equipment that is going onto ships and other things, robotics, AI, these types of technologies are being used, but they're not being regulated right now. So we got to make sure that we look at it through that lens versus developing an AI tool for the government, and then you have the requirement. So AI tools are now a part of your compliance footprint that's going to be different for every organization. And over the past couple of days, we've had many conversations around what that looks like and how the scope under CMMC currently is going to be impacted by using AI. And you have to make a decision whether to use it or not use it. And that's a business decision that we help our customers make, on a daily basis. Most of the time they go with, we're going to use it and we're going to secure it and we're going to protect it and make sure it's in compliant with all the requirements that we've aligned our business with. There's a big piece around foreign connections. So when AI came out, ChatGPT is obviously US based, but they had other tools that came out that were developed by other countries, China, Korea, Russia, a number of different countries all around the world, Australia. And there's AI tools that people have been using because of the power of them, and they don't know where the source is originating or where that information going. So basically, in this executive order, basically says it bans the use, just like TikTok got banned, years ago, and then got brought back online. But they're banning DeepSeek, Highflyer, which are both Chinese AI companies, on any DoD contract. So you can't have those tools in your environment if you have a DoD contract. And if you get audited and they find out that you're using those, then you've basically failed the audit, and the audit team has to come back out. So you got to make sure you know what tools your people are using, and make sure they're using ones that are U.S. based on U.S. soil, just like any CMMC relevant tool that you're using. Supply chain, obviously when you're using AI, there's a huge supply chain piece, both from the protection side. People are hacking the supply chains through AI because a lot of people don't really understand what's going on in the back end. But when it comes to the models that are being used, and defense contractors are going and contributing to those models being trained, and they're not realizing that these models and the models that are being trained, they're public models. So the company owns it, but they're taking in a bunch of different data. So we see a lot more companies thinking about private LLMs or having their own type of AI database that takes in that information and kind of trains their own model. So that's something to consider if your business is in a position to use AI and have that proprietary data stay under your roof. That's something we've seen benefit a lot of mid and larger companies as they start to ramp up, and they know they're going to use AI going forward. Maybe they're manufacturing some type of weapon, or they're manufacturing some type of UAV, and they know AI is a part of their robotics process. They know their people are going to code using AI, so they're basically saying, we will take in information from other models, but we don't want to give out our information to those models. So something to consider. And what we're seeing is prime contractors start to ask their subcontractors, how are you using AI after the NDAA budget came out? But this is something that's extremely buried down. I think that's why President Trump wanted to release the new executive order on the 2nd of this month. So just 2 days ago, which is pretty insane. And there's a lot of things that are going to come up in the future when it comes to AI. On top of CMMC, obviously, a lot of companies, only about 1% of the defense industrial base, 1-2% of the industrial base have been certified already. So you have that, 98% of defense contractors serving into the U.S. Department of Defense, Department of War, are not certified. So they're all going through this process. And on top of it, you have the AI requirements that are going to come out. And that's going to add another layer of complexity, but it's also going to allow you to get a more holistic view of your environment and know what tools are in scope now and into the future, because there's a 3-year cycle. I'm a firm believer that on the 3-year cycle, 3 to 4 years from today, when those first companies that have been certified have to get reassessed, there's going to be a lot more NIST 800-171 revision 3 requirements, and then these AI requirements are going to be a part of it. So it's good to get out in front of it. That's why we put on these sessions, to give you the information you need in order to think about the risk reward equation at the end of the day. So this will be a part of the NIST 800-171 framework. That is the goal, to make it not its own separate framework and requirement. We know there's a lot of requirements when you do business with the government. So I'm a strong encourager that they just add it as a section to the current NIST 800-171, NIST 853 type framework. Where we see a lot of companies go sideways currently, just a risk to avoid, is they basically say, we're not using AI, because they have people that are using individual AI accounts to do their work, and they don't want to tell leadership that they're using it, because it can make it easy, but really it's making you look resourceful. And if you go to your leadership team and say, I'm using Claude, we should get a business account, here's the cost, here's the time savings if we just train our people up, we use this tool to benefit us, we know what data we're putting into it and where that data is going. It's a no-brainer decision for most leadership teams to say, let's get a business account for $100, $200 a month to start, to get the first few people using these type of tools. If you're not using it, you're behind at this point, but you're not too far behind to be able to get to a point where it benefits your organization, making sure they're using the right tools. ChatGPT, OpenAI, and then Claude are really the most prevalent ones we see, but there are obviously other ones out there. This is all about AI in defense contracting and how it's going to impact the defense industrial base, CMMC, which we talk about each and every week. But what you can do from a business perspective to make sure AI is both being leveraged in the right way and is protected in order for your organization to scale into the future. This is a tool for your business to save time and money. And that's what we're all about at Valor, is all of the decisions that our customers, people in our ecosystem of defense manufacturers and shipyards, all the decisions they have to make outside of just cybersecurity, we make sure this side of their business is clear and concise and is able to deliver for them and not against them. And that's what's happening right now with a lot of these security tools and AI tools is they're being used. Quick summary, President Trump released on June 2nd the new updated provision to how the defense industrial base is going to govern AI use throughout the defense contracting ecosystem. It's something to add into your CMMC strategy. We're offering 15-minute free calls to give you an insight into what we're seeing in the market and allow you to ask any questions. So if you want to book that, you can go to valor-cybersecurity.com. We'll be hosting these sessions going forward, so please come and join, interact with us, ask us questions. This is our give back to the community of defense contractors who don't know what that next step is or should be. We want to get you closer to taking that step and then taking the next step after that. My name is Tomchick, CEO here at Valor Cybersecurity. Until next time, stay safe, stay secure.